casting. You got Nolte, you got Sean Penn, you've got John Voight, you've got Billy Bob Thornton, you've got Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah.
You've got
Claire Danes,
River Phoenix brother.
Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix. You've got who else?
Claire Danes.
Claire Danes plays.
Yeah, those are the six. Powers Booth is the sheriff.
Booth plays the sheriff,
and,
right?
Bo Hopkins is in, and Julie Haggerty.
It
was a great cast. Yeah, I loved it.
Now, was this a great experience for you? I mean, you shot it $20 million budget. You shot it in what 40 days?
Yeah, 42 days. Yeah.
Which is pretty good by anybody's standard.
6 weeks. Yeah, it was a tough shoot though.
Yeah.
But we, the idea was
for all of you.
Not all. I mean, some people. It was a tough shoot. Arizona in winter, you don't have a lot of light. You got to move fast. We were shooting in rocks and canyons and on the sides of the cliffs. I mean, it was hairy. You know, so it was tough stuff to shoot.
Okay, clip 2 from U-Turn. Well, so there you are.
Joaquin Phoenix is a great discovery. He's going to have a good career.
He was in the one with Nicole Kidman and...
he was in To Die For, but he played a completely different, weak, strange kid.
Yeah. I think it really changed me as an actor. And so I was really curious, like, how this experience, what it was going to be like and whether it was going to be different.
Joaquin's performance in that, he's not going to allow me to talk nicely about him. But how much...
Have you seen his T-shirt? Can you read that?
Jesus as a superhero. But dude, the intensity of his love for that character that she played in To Die For, I'm not doing a good job at this, but that shaking, trembling intensity was so powerful. And
it's actually not in the movie. I didn't do that.
There was no shaking and trembling?
No.
I wanted to ask you, as a past Oscar winner, have you been watching a lot of the films or any of the performances that are nominated?
It's really a competitive year, and I just think they should all get it. I mean, I don't know how you.
Come on, you had to have some favorites.
Well, I think that. Obviously Joaquin was fantastic, but Adam Driver, I think that's a very important movie, and...
That's so
then over those years, what's been your biggest pinch me moment for you personally?
Oh, gosh, there's been so many. I'm going to just give you the last one. I was at the Vanity Fair party, and Joaquin had just won his Oscar, and he wanted to talk to me and hang out with me. I was like,
wow.
At the event, and I was like, well, that's nice.
Not to get personal again, but what did he want to talk about? Queer Eye?
Yeah.
What?
That's incredible.
Wow. Yeah. He enjoyed the Japanese episodes. I'm like, he had watched them earlier on that day. I'm like, that's so bizarre. That's lovely.
Did you enjoy the Oscars last night?
Loved it.
What about Brad Pitt's speech?
I think Joaquin Phoenix gave the best speech I heard in the Oscars.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Have a good one.
You too.
Recently, you dismissed the superhero movies as theme parks, but these people are making them grow up breathing your cinema. And recently, The Joker was inspired by your cinema.
I know.
By your movies.
But
do you also consider it as a theme park movie?
I don't know about that. I know the film very well, and I know Todd very well. My producer, Emma Tillinger-Koskow, produced it.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting question because I thought about it a lot over the past 4 years, The Joker, and I decided that I didn't have the time for it, and also you're right. It is influenced by. Todd told me, so Marty, this is yours. I don't know if I want to, But anyways, personal reasons why I didn't get involved. But I know the script very well, so that it's really energy and incredible Joaquin and all that sort of thing. So you have a remarkable work. But for me, ultimately, I don't know if I make the how should I say, the next step, which is to this character developing into a comic book character.
Mm-hmm.
You follow?
Yeah, yeah.
Develops into an abstraction. That doesn't mean it's bad art. It could be, but it's not for me. You follow?
Yeah.
And that's different from the superhero films. It's very different.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
superhero films, as I said, are like another art form. They're not easy to make. There are a lot of very talented people doing good work, and a lot of young people really, really enjoy them. But I do think it's more of an amusement park, extension of the amusement park.
So you play a talk show host who pushes Joaquin Phoenix's character, Arthur Fleck, to assume his new identity as the Joker.
Is that what they say?
That's the description. This is from the studio.
Yes.
Not some blog.
I push him to help assume his new identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, oh, I'm filling you in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But I mean, what interests you?
I did because of Todd Phillips. Bradley Cooper's worked with him, and they're friends, and he swears by him, and I liked him. I met him. Joaquin is a wonderful actor, very, very special actor, and so that's great. And they wanted me to do it, and I like the part I'm playing, and part of it's also the connection because of the movies that I've done, sort of brings it into that, because it has it's connected with someone you'll see when you see the movie, like with the King of Comedy, say, and so on.
I did think about it.
Yeah, so that's.
Francis, I want to ask you about playing one of the pivotal roles in this film, the mother. And that must have been a complex thing because the relationship is so intense with Arthur's character, and your character exerts such influence over him. How did the two of you develop the relationship between your two characters?
We were just on set together for as long as it took to do the scenes, that's all. I mean, Todd's so wonderful. And watching the two of them sort of have these little powwows over in the corner was quite beautiful because it just showed the intimate working relationship they had. So, we just see where it went, really. And there was a lot of improv, and it was great. It was simple, but it was great.
Are there any things that you have to do to establish that sort of mother and son relationship so that it's convincing? You're working together perhaps for the first time, but you have to play a long relationship.
But what actors do is so special anyway. The audience doesn't necessarily understand how scenes are done, but it's in the writing. And it was beautifully in the writing. And then, Todd was there to sort of shape it and guide it. And it just came about. And of course, Joaquin was there just being Arthur. And that was beautiful to pair with.
Oh, totally lovely. He's so talented. He probably doesn't even, he said at one point, "Oh, I just work with great directors," but he's a great actor. And I found him very, very focused, really, really, really good and interesting. Every take, he did something a little different. Every take was as interesting as the next.
But this was Oscar-nominated Joaquin Phoenix saying he's giving up, and you're one of the best actors that we have around.
Please.
You are.
God.
No, seriously. It's true,
Oh,
right?
it is not
Take
true.
it. It
Okay,
is.
dude.
Go to the dry cleaner and then let's talk about it. But that's why I was so shocked and incredulous about it. I was incredulous because I'm like, and that's why I'm like, you're kidding, right? You're kidding. And then I saw your lip go like this. You did. It was a little twitch. And then I thought, okay, wait a minute, something's up here. And then when he got all pissy with me, you know, and he was like, oh yeah, thanks, dude. Okay, yeah, right.
Wait,
remember
is
that?
Is that what I did?
Yes.
That's
Yes, you went, thanks, dude. Great to see you. Great to see you.
Definitely known.
And then,
That was bad acting.
I turned to the camera, Casey. You didn't see this part. I turned to our camera and I go, whew, like what is up with
that right?
them? Yeah. And then,
right?
then I saw your cameras. That was the first time I noticed the other cameras on us. And I thought, they're doing a flippin' reality show. That's what I first thought.
Right.
I thought, this is like a reality show. What's going on here? I didn't know it was a documentary.
Well, we should have packed it in right then because you were the very first person that we tried to do anything with, and you immediately knew exactly what was going on.
Oh, I don't know about that. And then, you know, I have to say, I did. As time went on, I was truly concerned about him. I was. And I thought, oh, man, he's like going down a bad spiral.
It's amazing. All you need is a shaggy beard and some dreads, and then you're just off. But can I get an apple box? I'm just not.
You want me to do this?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Want me to do this?
Well, don't make it too obvious.
Yeah, well, okay.
But,
All right. How about this?
That's good. Yeah, make it like comfortably
Yeah,
just
yeah,
leaning
yeah,
back.
just leaning
whenever.
back, yeah,
and I'll
yeah,
go ahead and
yeah.
stand really straight. For people that don't know, Jerry's 6'7", so I'm actually a normal height.
A normal 6 foot.
This is an average, yeah, right. So a lot of people don't know that. But, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know how funny you are. You're fun. He's funny.
Oh, please.
He's funny.
Coppa Volpi per la migliore interpretazione maschile.
And this award goes to Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman for their work in The Master by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Di Paul Thomas Anderson.
Anyone who saw the film, Joaquin Phoenix is a life force in this film, and I told him after the film, I sent him a message after the film that I kind of rode that life force.
Okay, I'll ask one thing because tonight you won an Execo Award with Joaquin, and also Paul won an award for Best Director.
Thank you.
It seems to me that it's a great choice because the film is such an intimate thing between the three of you. I mean, you participated into you were privy to the writing of the film for quite some time, and I want to ask you, what does it mean that the three of you were all awarded?
Yeah, I think mostly that Joaquin and I were acknowledged together. I think is a real statement on the film and what the film's about. That it's a real symbiotic, kind of codependent, heavily invested and needy relationship between these two men. It's very intimate and very close, and they exist as one being at one point during the film. I think at one point they're almost one person in a way. And so I thought it was an expression of that, and all three of us are very excited by that. You know, we thought it was really, really smart and gracious and intuitive to give the award this way. Yes, but Paul, the three of us have been very tight throughout the making of the film and throughout this whole process of actually with press and presenting the film. We had to kind of be really, really raw in front of each other the whole time. And, I've been friends with Paul, like I said, for a long time. And now Joaquin has joined that circle, But it's very, very exciting.
Rooney, you've worked with Joaquin on Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot.
Mm-hmm.
And Joaquin only makes movies with like 7 words in the title apart from this.
Oh, we did Her together. That's a one-word title.
Yeah. And this is only 2, so that point goes out the window. What's the process of working with an actor on numerous times? You obviously get to know them better. Does that make it any easier, or is it actually sometimes great to be working with someone for the first time because there's that energy that you didn't know you had?
It's always great working with him no matter what because he's so supremely talented. But I think it does sometimes make it harder when you know someone. You have to get past that, especially on this. I'm dressed like Mary Magdalene, he's as Jesus. It would be silly no matter who it was, but when you know the person, you have to get past that. And that was a little bit of a challenge.
Preparing the actors for those characters that you're getting them to play, I read that you do something really unique in that you get them to trace one another. Instead of rehearsing lines together, you get them to trace each other. Can you tell us about that process?
Yeah, I suppose what I'm looking for in the performance is something that is just truthful and emotionally connected. So I don't rehearse the scenes. I try and build a relationship. So if there's relationships in the movie like brothers and sisters, I need to make sure that some rehearsals kind of connect that relationship. So we do all sorts of things, and one of the ones that you've obviously read about is how it's I suppose it's art therapy in many ways, relationship building through art making, and they get to trace each other and paint each other in as they understand that relationship to be, and these paintings really actually do some profound teaching for the actors.
So is there a picture of Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara somewhere hanging on your wall?
No, Joaquin didn't do it. But I've got Devon Rooney from the last movie, and I've got pretty much all the disciples and family traced each other and painted each other.
That's so cool.
It was pretty amazing. Thomas's painting of Mary was pretty brutal.
What do you do with them once you're finished?
I collect them. I have this secret fantasy that, in 20 years' time I can have an exhibition of all of these people. It'd be amazing.
I would love to see that. And Joaquin Phoenix is a really unique choice for Jesus. Originally, when I first saw the film, for some reason it had escaped me that he was playing Jesus. So when he came up on screen, it was such a surprise, such a delight, and his representation of him is really different than some of the stereotypes. What were you trying to achieve with your representation of Jesus?
Well, again, I just wanted to find someone that was struggling between the flesh and the spirit, who's both human and divine, and also acknowledge just the responsibility that he held.
The whole Scientology thing to me, I see the framework, but I think it seems to be wildly overstated by most of the people who've been writing about it.
Makes a really good headline, so, which, I'll take it. It's attention for the movie, and I think the movie deserves attention, so if that gets people to go see it, awesome. I think that what Joaquin does, what Philip does, and what Paul does in crafting this movie deserves to be seen. So, great. Go see it and decide for yourself. That's what I say.
So is it hard to be in the frame and, having being that essence in the background? Well, no?
No. No. Well, I'm assuming you're saying, like these two powerhouses.
Well, you're a powerhouse too.
Yes, but to get to just, thank you. But to get to just choose, I'm like, yes. Nope, Peggy's a powerhouse.
Is there a lightness on the set when you're...
There is, surprisingly. I really thought it was going to be this heavy, serious experience, and Paul actually, he's serious, he's not, but he's a lot more fun, and he's funnier than I expected him to be.
You gotta be kidding.
What?
What the hell just happened?
Oh my fucking... oh my god.
You're kidding.
Wait.
Still
rolling, guys. Here we go. Still rolling.
I pull.
Yeah. Should we see Val a little bit better?
Yeah.
That was the machine, right?
Who just did that?
Is that better?
It took me a long time to understand how Paul had directed me. Because I was just letting it happen. You really want to let it happen with somebody like Paul Thomas Anderson, who really directs people to really amazing performances. And so I just wanted to be present in the moment with Paul and with Philip and with Joaquin as much as possible.
Did the character feel like a departure for you? Did it feel like you were doing something that you haven't really done? Because she's very...
I felt
hard.
different than I'd play. I didn't feel like, wow, I'm doing something really different. But I know, cellularly, I felt different playing this.
I think you smiled once during the movie.
Really?
Maybe once there was a scene.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But I'm never thinking, when I'm doing a role, is this different or the same? But I know that this... I felt weird sometimes, but I was exhausted when I was making this movie. I told Paul today, I was like, I don't know if I've shared actually the behind-the-scenes experience of making this movie with you, because I was, my daughter was still waking up at night, and we were shooting nights, and there was a week and a half where we were shooting nights where Darren was out of town, and I have a really wonderful nanny who was helping me, and so thank you, Lisa. But I was getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep, and I felt like I was going bonkers. And turned out to serve me very well for this film.
You could have taken Joaquin's role on for a few days.
No, I could not. I couldn't have. I would have gone absolutely crazy. There's no way. There's no way. Where he's able to go in this film is, and then return to some semblance of Joaquin is pretty amazing. But watching it the second time was good, because the first time was I just sort of went with the emotional experience, and this time I actually got to see and value the craft of the film, the cinematography, the way the shots were lined up, just the sort of animalistic bravery of Joaquin's performance, and juxtaposed to Philip's, intensity, and I was able to really kind of I just loved it. The scene, without giving too much away, but the scene in the jail, I started laughing because I was like, I can't believe what I'm witnessing, and seeing them juxtaposed to one another was just really beautiful. It's exciting when a film like this gets attention. Like you said, it's not going to be the film that makes it. It's not going to win a popularity contest necessarily, but it really, all of the hype, all the people talking about the film gets people to see the film, and I think it's really, really worth seeing. And I think that the work that Joaquin and Philip do it's just remarkable, and I'm glad people are excited about it.
Well, I think all three of you, myself.
Well, thank you, but I mean, I guess I feel very much like Peggy in this, where I kind of feel like I'm in the background of everything. I'm omnipresent. Since having my daughter, I'm really trying to go with the experience of creativity as opposed to trying to manipulate it in some way. And hopefully I get opportunities where that I can take that even further. I worked with Joaquin again with Spike Jonze, and I feel like I got to do that even more, and I'm trying to give myself permission to fail a little bit more and not be perfect and not try to have a clean performance. And it's okay if I'm bad. Like, if someone doesn't like me, then that's okay. If they think I'm bad, that's okay.
I never really looked at it like a guy who was the head of a cult or a head of a religion even. I was a movement in my mind, it was a very successful movement, and I think that is what it is. And I think what it is that the film kind of gets it right at the point where it's starting to go bad, something's starting to twist in a way. And it might be turning into a cult, might be turning into more than just a movement. But at the time when you meet him, he really is the head of something that's working, that people are excited by, and therefore you have Joaquin walk in there too, and he is taken in by that too, because he is affected by what he's doing, and you actually see that in the movie. You actually see that happen, which is one of the great moments in the film. You actually see what the guy can do, and what he does with Joaquin, and how it's a transformative moment for both of them.
Within this movie, there are moments which strike me in what they call processing in this movie. Maybe Scientologists call it auditing, but I didn't know what it was.
Or or psychoanalysis. There's a lot of ways you can look at what that is.
Even though it's kind of against that, it's saying you're in my
these
family.
Guys aren't for it. But I think that kind of thing that happens in it is also very reminiscent of like acting class exercises. Yeah, I mean it's a very it's the storytelling aspect of something, getting at the truth of something.
Well, I
memories,
love
emotions.
The moment where you're processing Joaquin's character in the beginning, the first scene where that's happening, and you're saying name. And it's Frankie or Freddie, what his name is. And then it's Freddie, and then it's name, Freddie. And then there's that whole thing about no blinking.
Well, I mean, it ultimately didn't become about him not blinking, because he ultimately would. But the actor, Joaquin, and the character was struggling with not, and that's really was the whole point, was to stay that focused, And I think, I don't know where that comes from. I think that's out of Paul's imagination, that whole idea of not blinking. I think that comes from Paul's mind, like how far would my guy push him to get him to be completely devoid of self, you know what I mean? It's only thinking about the answer to these questions, and therefore getting at something, which he does get at. It's a very successful meeting they have there, and I think in a good way. I always saw that as quite a positive scene, ultimately, quite a moving scene. That's why I say it's not so much, again, you can relate it to Scientology and its relation, but I think you can relate it to many things. And I think many people relate to having those moments in their life, whether it's with a friend or a parent, or or a therapist or a doctor or whatever, where they've had a transformative moment with another person, and that person becomes their mentor. That's why I say acting teacher.
Right.
You know, that you have these moments where you go through an exercise, you do something with somebody, and it transforms you. You think, oh my God, I didn't think that could happen. Oh my God, I didn't. And that's what happens in the film, you know, and how powerful that is to an individual. But does that mean now that they will be connected for life? Does that mean now, you know what I mean? There's a lot that goes with that.
Well, I don't think the movie tells you.
No, because it's not supposed to, because life doesn't really.
Life doesn't tell.
Yeah.
But movies are, to many of the audiences, they like to be told. They
Sure.
would like this wrapped up in a pretty ribbon.
Sure.
Say
No,
that.
this is a story about that. It's never that's
never-
not going to be wrapped
It's not
up.
going to. So you and Joaquin didn't know each other.
Before the film, I had met him a couple times, you know, but no, we didn't know each other.
You know where I see the two of you together? It's when you won the Oscar for Capote.
That's right.
And if you're watching it at home, you see the nominees are, and then it's Joaquin Phoenix in Walk the Line. So he's Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
You know, you're Truman Capote.
yeah, I know.
David Strathairn is Edward R. Murrow.
That's right.
It's everybody.
It was a real autobiography here,
right?
wasn't it?
It was just a lot of that happening. So is there any competition that you guys feel when you started working on The Master? Did you even talk about this?
God, no,
never comes up.
No, never comes. Our history, we were acquaintances, but it never came up. It was weird. It was
He doesn't burn with resentment over.
No,
losing
God,
to-
no, no, God, it would be. We'd know. You'd never be able to go on in this profession if you let that stuff get to you. But it's anyone who's, you know, that's just the way it is. But no, but what is interesting is that we literally met each other on the first day, like rehearsal, whatever, talking about it, whatever we did. Never talked about any time we had really met before. You know, it might have come up like in general terms, you know. Oh, you know, that group of people, or that, you know, but it was weird. We never specifically talked about meeting or any times we had actually talked together, which was kind of great.
On the brownie with the moon, big and shining.
I like Coles. The minty flavor. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Ever. What's the greatest thing ever?
Do it one more time. You can do it. You can do it.
All right. I like Coles. The minty flavor. Fuck off.
You had it.
One more.
It's really worth getting.
All right. We're out.
You can just, like,
I like Coles. Minty flavor.